painting by Jan van Eyck called the Ghent Altarpiece, and it is the most fascinating painting in the world. It is the most stolen painting in the world, too, which is one of the reasons why it's the most fascinating painting. There are several reasons why you would want to steal it. First of all, it's very famous for being known as one of the first realist paintings. You can clearly see all of the detail in the people that he drew. Also, it's one of the most well-done oil paintings of this time and one of the earliest well-done oils. A lot of people believe that Van Eyck invented oil paints, but he didn't. He just knew how to use them very well. The lamb right here is painted to represent Jesus and the idea of sacrifice and how you sacrifice the lamb, like how Jesus sacrificed himself. This was a reason why a lot of the Calvinists really didn't like this painting, and they stole it from the St. Bava Cathedral a lot, which was the city it was made for. It's a little strange that this would be the most stolen painting, since it is 11.5 by 15 feet and weighs more than one elephant. It was first stolen by Charles Pichegru from France, and he led the French army to steal it. They did this in honor of Napoleon, because Napoleon really loved big, realistic paintings like this one. It was returned, though, because after Napoleon escaped from prison in Elba, Louis XVIII fled to Ghent to hide. And as a thanks for their hospitality, he returned the parts of the painting that were stolen, which was just the central panels right here. Then it was stolen by Jacques-Joseph Le Serre when the bishop was out of town. He only stole the wings, and he sold them to an art dealer from Brussels, and then he sold them to an English art collector who sold them to Frederick William III, the King of Prussia. And his dream was to have this big museum that would compete with the Louvre, and that started in 1830. Then later, when Germany, that painting actually did have a lot of damage when it went to the museum, because they wanted the viewers to be able to see both sides of the painting, the front and the back. So they cut it right down the middle and just slapped both sides against the wall, which isn't a very smart way to do that. But then when Germany invaded Belgium, they wanted to be able to hide the middle paintings. So they hired a man who looked very much like a little boy. He looked kind of innocent and young, and he hid them in different houses. They were transported in a horse-drawn junk cart, and he hid them under the floorboards and in the walls of different houses, and they didn't find them. And then in 1919, the Treaty of Versailles stated that the wings be bought back from Germany to Belgium. Then it was last stolen in 1934 during a Belgian recession. The St. John panel and the Righteous Judges panel were both stolen. The thief sent a ransom letter which demanded a ridiculous amount of money that could not have been paid at all. And to show that he was honest, he returned the St. John panel, but he never returned the Righteous Judges panel. So he eventually confessed when he was dying that he was the one who stole it. He was Arsène Guillaudertier, and he died before he could say where it was hidden, so they still haven't found it. And in 1945, they eventually had to ask a man named Jeff van der Becken to make a copy of it, which is now installed with the originals. On the back of the copy, Van der Becken wrote, "I did it for love and for duty, and to avenge myself, I borrowed from the dark side." No one really knew what that meant, and when they asked him about it, all he would say was that he didn't really know anything about the theft and he didn't have any information. So that's still kind of a mystery. But during World War II, Hitler really wanted this because he believed that there were a lot of secret messages inside of it, and there were. And one of the saints' hats, there were 3 Hebrew letters, and people haven't really been able to figure out what they say. They think it could be Lord of Hosts or God's Army, or it could be Van Eyck's signature, because he really liked to hide his signature in paintings like that. Also, in the painting on the floor right here, Van Eyck put the Christogram, which is a symbol of Catholicism, and it was put there so that when arguing families walked by, they would look at it and remember not to argue because they're all Catholic. Hitler also thought that there was a treasure map inside of the painting leading to Arma Christi, which is Christ's Passion, and that's supposed to have the Holy Grail and the Spear of Destiny and things like that. So he stole it from the Chateau des Pins, which is where a lot of French art was hidden, and he hid it in his castle in Germany. And then when the war was coming to an end, he was worried about people finding it, so he moved it to the Alt-Aussie salt mine, which is where he hid a lot of his art. And at the end of the war, the US came and they took it and they brought it back to Belgium. Later on, in 1974, a man named Jos Troughton, whose job it was to clean the painting, he was a surrealist painter himself and had been cleaning the painting for 20 years. He noticed that the judges' panel was looking as old as the rest of the painting, which was a little strange since it was painted a lot more recently. So they ran a bunch of tests and they figured out that it was just a copy. But when they looked at it with a magnifying glass, they noticed that it looked like there was a face popping out from underneath one of the judges' faces, and they thought that was a little strange. So there have been a lot of debates and arguments about this. One of the theories that people came up with is that Van der Becken, the guy who made the copy, had the stolen painting and painted over it and then gave it back to them in a way to return it without getting in trouble for it. But that's just a theory. It might not be true. So even though we don't know much about that, we still will know more about it soon because they're planning to do a big restoration on the whole painting. A lot of where I got my information for this painting was from a really, really great book called The Stealing of the Mystic Land, written by Noah Charney. I highly recommend it. So that is the Ghent Altarpiece. Thank you very much.